And the amount of ways that you can configure this board to fit your exact needs is endless. Every single content creator could figure out how to design this board, set it up in a way that is just for them and their workflow. I cannot imagine a life without it. I can't believe I lived without this thing for as long as I did. Tascam, you're not getting it back. I don't know if you were supposed to be getting it back, but you're not getting it back. You may know this as the Model 12, but I refer to it as my NASA Command Center. Oh man, I've been waiting to talk about this thing. Hey, Brian Miller here, and welcome to Audio for Content Creators, where we help you sound better and level up for all your content creation needs. And I'm finally able to talk about the Tascam Model 12, this glorious monstrosity over here. What is it? What does it do? What is it for? How am I using it? Should you check it out? All of that is coming up. I'm excited. I have all this energy because I've been using it for months, and I'm over the moon about this thing. And honestly, I opened this thing and I was just like, Now listen, you all know I have a background in audio engineering. I went to school for audio engineering, but that was a long time ago. It's been a long, long time since I've actually been in front of a board like this. And if I'm being completely honest, there's definitely a learning curve here. This is not super intuitive. It's not plug and play. You're not gonna open it and be using it flawlessly 10 minutes later. But if you're willing to go through a little bit of a learning curve, you've got something that can be the NASA Command Center for your entire content creation studio, production, workflow. Now, it must be said that this review is specifically about how to use the Tascam Model 12 as a all-around content creator, podcaster, live streamer. There are plenty of reviews already out there about this unit for musicians. This is for podcasting, live streaming, and general content creation. And it must be said, that is not specifically what it was designed for, which is where you're gonna find a few of my nitpicking kind of critiques as we go through this thing. It wasn't designed for this. Okay, what is it actually though? Well, the Tascam Model 12 is a hybrid unit. It does 3 different things in one box. First, it is a portable recording studio. That's right, there is an SD card slot over here. I have an SD card inside, and you can do multi-track recording right on the unit. All you need is power, plug it into a wall anywhere. You don't need a computer. So it's a portable recorder. It's also an incredible analog mixer. Every single one of these input channels has its own channel strip, comprised of a 3-band EQ with a sweepable mid and a 1-knob analog compressor. Let me say that again, a 1-knob analog compressor. And the analog compression sounds fantastic. Each channel also has a 100 hertz low cut in case you just wanna get rid of any of that rumble or wind noise, fans in the background, any background stuff that you don't need right on the way in. Every single channel also has an instrument button in case you are plugging in with a electric guitar or something like that directly. You can switch it over to an instrument signal. Of course, all the channels are combo jacks. You can plug an XLR, a professional microphone cable, or a 1/4-inch TRS cable into any of these. The last 2 inputs are stereo inputs, 7/8 and 9/10. So you can actually plug 2 cables in. Let's say you have a keyboard that's a stereo output. You can plug 2 TRS cables into the left and right, and they will come in as a single stereo channel. 9/10 is the dedicated Bluetooth or TRRS cable channel. So why is this wonderful? Well, it's wonderful because you can do, as a podcaster, you can have a call in. Calling the wife. Hi, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and how is your final few days of pregnancy going?
Not so good. I want this baby to be here.
Can you expound on that for this test?
I feel huge, and I'm almost at my due date in 3 days, and he's all cooked, so he's ready to come out. So he just needs to make up his mind to come out.
Fantastic. All right, well, thank you for helping with this test. I'll let you go back to your feeling huge and waiting.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Now let's take an extra second to talk about the channel strip, the 3-band EQ, and the compression knob on every single channel, and why that is so valuable as a content creator. Because if you are a podcaster, if you are a guest on someone else's podcast, or if you record remotely, if you are a live streamer going live to YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, anything else, having a 3-band EQ and a compressor that are all hardware built in before it ever hits the computer is absolute gold. It means that you can completely tweak your sound, get that real broadcast sound if you want it. Set your compressor so that if you yell loudly, it doesn't overload somebody's ears. You can do all that in real time without having to deal with your computer's effects processing, bogging down the CPU, or anything like that. So here's an example as a podcaster or a live streamer. If I was using my large diaphragm condenser, this is the Movo VSM7 that's currently sitting on the boom arm on my desk. I am now using compression and EQ. So let me just boost up that compression a little bit for you there. I'm going to boost that up so that I'm getting a very, very compressed signal. I can even boost up, let's see, the lows here, so I can really push up those lows, and all of a sudden now I've got that warm, wonderful NPR broadcast sounding voice, and I'm doing that analog right here on the board, which just, it sounds amazing. If I wanted to, I could really even, I could boost up that high end right there, boost up the low end even more, push that compression up, and suddenly we've got that Howard Stern sounding voice, which is just wild to be able to do that on the board. And you can see what I did just now, which is I just switched back from the desk mic. I pushed down the fader and I pushed up the overhead. I've got a little label here for myself of which mics are which. I've got my overhead mic, which is up here, the Audio-Technica AT875R, which I'm using as the primary mic for this video. I just pushed that back up, and now that's the one that's in play again. And the reason I'm able to use this the way that I am is because I have the output set to a mix, a full mix. Now, what am I talking about? I mentioned that this Model 12 does 3 things. We already talked about the fact that it is a portable recording studio. We talked about the fact that it is a mixer, and I haven't even touched all of the different things that this does as a mixer. There's way too much for one video. This is just a little overview for you. But the third thing it does, it is a USB audio interface. It's got a USB-C connection that is plugged into my computer right now. It gets audio into the computer and audio back out. So if you're used to using a Focusrite or a PreSonus or a Tascam 208i or a 102i or any of the standard audio interfaces, this would replace that if you wanted it to. And that's exactly what I've done. Having all of these inputs available means that I can have every type of mic, every type of connection that I normally use on a daily basis permanently plugged in. I can get my analog settings, the EQ, the compression for each of those mics perfectly dialed in. And then whenever I'm doing a video or a podcast or a live stream where I need that particular mic, I just have to push up the fader for that mic and hit record inside the computer or go live inside the computer, and all of it is just getting sent over via the USB-C cable. Now, there are 2 different ways that you can output to the computer via USB-C. You can do it as a full mix, which is what I'm doing right now. This board is going via mix to the USB-C. In other words, everything I'm doing is using this as a mixer and sending one single stereo track to the computer. So what I'm recording inside the computer right now is not multi-track. It's a single left-right stereo file that is taking advantage of anything I've got here as a mixer. So if I actually pushed up this desk mic right now, you'd actually hear in the recording that there's 2 different mics being recorded at the same time. I could lower this one so you'd hear less of this one. I could lower this one so that you'd hear less of that one. That means that during a live stream, like the virtual magic shows that I've been doing for clients of mine all over the world, I can switch between which mic I'm using at what time. I can mix in music that's coming via Bluetooth from my iPad or sound effects. Thank you. And we need a portable hole. And I'm gonna use these colorful stickers for the portable hole. Oh yes, thank you.
That's crazy.
What was that weak applause? Did you hear? I could choose any applause in the world, and that's what I gave myself? Oh. All of those different things that are being sent to the computer, that's actually what I'm using for the live stream, I can handle in real time here as a mixing console. But if you wanted to, you could set this device to a multi-track output and then go into any digital audio workstation, a DAW like Pro Tools or PreSonus Studio One or anything like that, and tell each track which one of these inputs you want it to be recording, like you would with an audio interface. So you can set it to that for recording purposes, if you're using it with a DAW, or you can set it, as I usually do, to the full mix output when you're doing podcasting, live streaming, anything like that. I know I said that this wasn't going to be a review for musicians, but just for the record, input 6, which is where I have a TRS guitar cable plugged directly in, I can plug my guitar in directly, DI, record it either here or via multi-track over there, and then if I wanted to put amp sims on or anything like that, I could do that over there. Which again means if you are a content creator who is a musician, you could actually have a microphone on your acoustic guitar or your electric guitar plugged in and another mic set up for your voice, and then in real time as you're filming a video or doing a live stream, you could just push up the guitar's mic or the guitar's fader if you're plugged in directly, play, and then stop playing, pull it back down, and you could just mix your own voice versus the guitar in real time just using this while you're sitting with it. There is, of course, phantom power. Now, here's one of my little, it's global phantom power. Right up here is your phantom power button, and it turns on phantom power to the entire board. You cannot individually select which tracks have phantom power. That's kind of a bummer, but what are you gonna do? It does have 2 separate headphone jacks. At the moment, I don't have headphones plugged into it. I actually have a cable running this into my ATEM Mini so that I could use this entire board, feed the audio source of the entire board as a mix right into the ATEM Mini and have them sync together before the ATEM hits the computer. That's a different video to be made, but you do have 2 headphone jacks and 2 separate headphone levels that you can use, which is great. And for me, one of the most amazing things about the board is it does have a sub output. So it's got a main monitor outputs left and right going into my studio monitors, but it also has sub outs. And I'm actually using the sub outs to run my headphones. And the reason I'm using that is I'm running them into a Mackie big knob controller where I can switch between different outputs and different inputs. What that allows me to do is on each track you can select, do you want each one of these faders, each track, to be going to the main outs, to the sub outs, to both, to neither? Lots of options here. And so I've got the 2 faders that control the computer's playback. See, 1 and 2 are what are the tracks that you set to actually control the playback from the computer. So if you're using this as an audio interface, the sound from your computer is coming into tracks 1 and 2. It's obnoxious, and I'll get to that in a minute. But these 2 tracks, I have them going to the sub outs, but not to the main outs. In other words, if I'm on a live stream and I've got somebody via StreamYard that comes in, like it's a magic show. I've got a volunteer on the screen and I'm talking to them. I need to be able to hear them in my headphones. So I've got the computer's playback going to the sub, but if I also had them going to the main outs, they would hear themselves coming back to them, right? That's the problem of mix minus. And so I'm able to use the sub outs to my headphones to say, send the computer playback, the PC playback, to my headphones via the subs, but not to the main outputs so that I don't get that return going back to them, which is a kind of a nifty trick I've discovered with this board that you can do. On the note of the PC return via USB coming into inputs 1 and 2, this is where Tascam wasn't thinking about this as a device for content creators, and they were really thinking about this when they designed it as a device for musicians only. There really should have been a dedicated fader or even just a knob somewhere that controls the level of the PC return. It's got 10 channels and 2 of them are stereo, so it really has 8 channels. When you're using this as an audio interface, you have to dedicate 1 and 2 just to the PC return. So you can't use 1 or 2 for any of your microphones, guitars, anything, which all of a sudden actually kills a lot of your available inputs. I've only got now 4 mono inputs and 2 stereo ones to work with. And if I've got my iPad going, via Bluetooth, then I really only have 4 mono inputs and 1 stereo input to work with. And suddenly this big board becomes much, much smaller just because I'm losing these first 2 inputs. So I reached out to Tascam about this. I said, really, this was a big oversight. There should have just been any knob, pick a knob, any knob somewhere that I could set to be the PC return level, because I don't need this entire channel strip for the PC return. I don't want compression or EQ happening on what's coming in from the computer. I just want to hear what's coming in from the computer as it is. And they said, actually, we've heard that complaint a bunch and we're looking into it, we're working on it. So there may be a software update at some point that fixes that, and I'll let you know when there is, or if there is. I have barely scratched the surface of what this Model 12 device is capable of. It's $600, and that feels like a lot of money. And listen, it is a lot of money. I don't care who you are, I don't care how much money you have. $600 is not change, right? It's not spare change. It's real money. And it's in the very similar price point to the Rodecaster. The Rodecaster? Gosh, Rode has so many similar names for different devices. And it might feel like it's similar to the Rodecaster in terms of what it does. The big difference here is the Rodecaster, and this is not a knock on the Rodecaster. I love Rode. I collaborate with Rode. The Rodecaster is designed to be intuitive and user-friendly for anyone. It's designed that if you know nothing about audio or podcasting or anything like that, that you can just plug in and start using it. The inputs, the preamps in the Rodecaster, they're consumer-grade preamps. They sound fine. They sound fine. That device is a miracle for people who have no idea what they're doing and just want to get off the ground the second they open the box. But this is going to be the hub of your studio for 10 years, 15 years. The Rodecaster, I doubt it. I think in a couple of years, in 1 to 2 years, you'll end up deciding there's some new version of it or some other new cool nifty gadget that you're gonna upgrade to. This is gonna take you a lot more work. It's got a much bigger learning curve and you're gonna have to really learn what you're doing. The preamps that are built into this are pro grade. They are warm and they are beautiful. The hardware compression knob, the one knob, is wonderful sounding. The 3-band EQ, the analog EQ, is very, very musical, very, very smooth. And the amount of ways that you can configure this board to fit your exact needs is endless. So listen, like I said, we've barely scratched the surface. I'm excited about this device. I'd like to make a bunch of videos about it, more overview stuff, show you more features, do some in-depth tutorials if there's specific things you want to know about how I set it up and how to hook it up for different kinds of projects. So let me know in the comments which tutorials, which features you'd like to know more about. Of course, there's a link in the description to this device. And if you've been following my channel for a while, you've seen this used on just dozens and dozens of projects over the last couple of months. Having said that, if this video was interesting, helpful at all, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. That being said, my name is Brian Miller. Thanks so much for sticking with me. Always remember, our world is a shared experience. Every interaction is meaningful, and every person you meet, even virtually, is important. So come back anytime to sound better and level up, and we'll see you soon.